Welcome to Abdow Avenue, I'm Jason Abdow, and today we are going to be talking about the third full-length studio album from Imagine Dragons, Evolve. Now, I've been very inconsistent on my feelings about Imagine Dragons in the past. When their first album, Night Visions, came out back in late 2012, I was still a sophomore in high school, and I feel like it was kind of tailor-made to my age group, and it was probably seen as a lot more revolutionary at the time just because it was rock music that was arena ready and making it onto the pop radio stations, and that had just not been happening for the longest time, so it just seemed like a much bigger deal at the time than it was. And I'll still defend singles like Radioactive in its time. I still think those are fun songs. They're definitely like great running songs, and that's kind of what Imagine Dragons has done throughout their career, is just made these anthemic, inspirational, arena rock ready jams. And there's nothing wrong with arena rock. Just look at a band like 21 Pilots, and they're making these kind of bigger rock songs that are accessible to the mainstream, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love 21 Pilots, but I don't know. I saw Imagine Dragons' sophomore album, Smoke and Mirrors, was wildly inconsistent, and the singles off of that were, for the most part, terrible, especially the song I Bet My Life. That song is just one of their worst in my opinions. My expectations going into Evolve admittedly were not that high after Smoke and Mirrors, and to be honest, I don't think Night Visions has aged all that well either. And Evolve is basically just kind of what I expected. It's just really bland, generic pop rock music that's ready for the arena, and it doesn't feel personal at all. It doesn't really feel... There's nothing clever on this album. There's nothing that's really well written. Everything that's been said on this album has been said a million times by a million other bands, and in so much more interesting ways. I kind of like the song I Don't Know Why that starts this album off, which apparently a lot of Imagine Dragons fans actually aren't that crazy about the song. I don't know, maybe it's the way he carries the dangerous... You know, it kind of reminds me of the song Heart's a Mess by Gotye. Kind of how he carries the word dangerous. And from there, the lead single, Believer, is never a fan of it. And even now, it's just gotten worse and worse. I think the mixing on Dan Reynolds' vocals is just atrocious in the chorus. He's just shouting for the sake of shouting, it seems like, and you really can't even hear what he's trying to say. Like, why even bother writing lyrics? I mean, I just can't believe someone would listen to that and say, yep, this is ready to be published for everyone. This is perfect. This cannot be polished in any other way. This sounds amazing. No need to re-record anything. This is the best take we've got. I cannot believe that. It just sounds so sloppy. And a lot of the songs on this album are just so overproduced. If you had told me this was just a Dan Reynolds solo project, I probably would just believe you, because none of the instrumentation sounds all that amazing or pronounced. It just kind of all gets washed out with Alex the Kid's production. And, I mean, even in the moments where they do try to do something interesting, on Yesterday, for example, that's kind of playing with a piano or a keyboard, like, that's kind of interesting, I guess. But it's just always weighed down by these boring lyrics, these boring, faux inspirational lyrics. I mean, songs like Mouse at a River, Yesterday, like I said, say bye to yesterday, look forward to tomorrow, it's just one after the other, just platitude after platitude, nothing interesting being said on this album. And if this is the kind of stuff that motivates you, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think you're a bad person with bad taste. It's just not the kind of music I personally enjoy. And I can't even think of like what my favorite songs on here are. It's just songs that I guess sometimes mix it up a little, seem a little unique in comparison to whatever else is on this album. But besides that, it's just, this is so not my kind of music. And some of the lyrical themes on this are borderline insulting. I mean, just look at probably my least favorite song on here, Thunder, and you have Dan Reynolds singing about how, you know, all the kids in his classes were laughing, but he was staying on that grind, you know. He was staying focused because he knew he was going to be a big rock star. And now all the haters out there, they're just in the nosebleeds. They're broke. And first of all, I just want to say, first things first, just because you're in the nosebleeds doesn't mean you're not a big fan. Actually, in my experiences, I always get nosebleed tickets. And that's where all the people who really want to see you, they scrap up whatever money they can have to see you. And since you're arena rock bands, I think that's pretty stupid that you would insult that whole section of the crowd, since this music is apparently made to be performed live. I think that's stupid. And that song just sounds terrible with those pitched up vocals in the background with the thunder. It's so irritating. That is such a low point in their musical discography now, in my opinion. And this idea that, you know, everyone's he's singing about how, you know, he wants to break through with his, you know, his grand visions and whatever, and it's just, what grand visions, you know? What are you talking about? He's singing about how, the way he makes his music sound on this album, you'd think he's making this ultra experimental music that the mainstream just isn't ready for, but this is mainstream, this is pop music now. And I don't know why he thinks what he's trying to say. It's I don't like being mean to an album. I don't like critiquing this, but honestly this sounds like Dan Reynolds came forward and made like a Christian rock album, and the studio said, make it a little more secular, and he made it a little more secular. This way you could still jam to it at like Christian summer camp, but also you wouldn't know that it was like, you know, a religious album. And that's nothing against religious music, I don't want to, you know, go there. But it's just, you know, it's that really overly produced, underwritten, monotonous thing. And I don't even know why they named this album Evolve, because if anything, it sounds like the band is just kind of retreading similar waters that they've done before. Songs like Walking the Wire I can see kind of fitting snugly on Night Visions. That one's not as terrible. But yeah, for the most part, there's not very much I can personally recommend about this album. I think it does a lot more wrong than right, and at the best it's usually just generic. I'm really not feeling much on this album. I'll give it a high C-. And again, like I said, if this kind of music inspires you, keep listening to it. I'm glad you're finding something out of this. And I know this is a band people are really passionate about, and I'm sorry that I just personally am not connecting with this album, but that's just how I've been feeling about this. If you like this album, dislike this album, let me know. If you like this album, please actually just tell me what specifically is clicking with you so well on this album. Maybe it'll make me want to give it a re-listen. Maybe I'm just totally missing something. But yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. I hope maybe it'll do something a little more interesting next time around. I doubt it. But, you know, I still feel like any rock music in the mainstream it's something, so I don't begrudge their success at all. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope this wasn't too controversial, and have a great day.